How's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and today we're going to talk about building your own glitch effects on the Elektron Octatrack. This is something I dug into a few months ago in a template I released called the Hyper Effects template, which you can find on my Patreon or on coffee.com/EZBOT. Essentially what this template does is it live resamples whatever audio you're putting into your Octatrack and instantly plays back moments of it, stuttering that audio in a very rhythmic and usable fashion. Let's put it that way. It's a lot of fun to play with live, and I'll just demonstrate some of the effects for you really quickly before we just dive into how you can build them yourself. Because I'm sure someone out there would just like to know a bit about this technique, and then they can just design their own versions of these effects, and maybe better versions of the effects that I made even. That being said, if you just want to grab the effects and kind of reverse engineer it, you can get it from the Patreon, and I recommend you do that because reverse engineering stuff is probably one of the fastest and easiest ways to learn things. Let me give you a little sound demonstration before we just dive into it, because I'm going to try and grind us through this experience in around an hour. So if I can teach you how to do this in an hour, then my mission is accomplished. But it's a deep dive, so hopefully you already understand the Octatrack to some degree, or understand it decently well, so that I don't have to explain the minutia of the Octatrack language, and we can just talk Octatrack and just dive right into it. But let me switch over. Let's check it out. So here's the Octatrack. Right now I am sending clock out from the M8 tracker. Originally I designed this effects concept that uses this magnetic overlay, which you can pick up on modbang.com if you're interested in that. But the magnetic overlay applies, it lets you know that these are going to be beat repeat effects. These aren't the stutter effects. These are typical beat repeat effects that you'd use using the delay and configuring the delay in different beat repeat amounts or delay times, and then adding filters and effects to those. Stutter effects uses this technique that I'm going to show you today. We're going to focus on stutter and stretch effects. And if we have some time, I'll show you a cool glitch filter effect that's actually more complicated to design and get to function than these effects. And I'll demonstrate that for you really quickly. But let me just show you what these effects sound like really quickly. I'm sure some of you have heard that, and then we'll just go right into designing it from scratch. Hopefully you can hear this all right. This is music coming from the M8 tracker, and here's some glitch effects. I got a bunch of different banks of these. Time stretch. And let me show you the glitch filter effect, but I really don't think we're gonna have time to get to it, but I do want you to hear it because it's cool. Is it here? Let me find it first. Here it is. This is glitch filter. I might just make a YouTube video on how to do this because it's so complicated. Honestly, you have to use the LFO designer to actually be able to get this to function. And multiple LFOs to have them communicate with each other. So there you go. Demonstration of the potential effects that you're going to be able to design after I show you how to do these techniques. What we're going to do is we're just going to clear out a part. We're going to go to a bank in here, and I'm just going to empty out a pattern and the parts, and we're just going to start from scratch and design it. We are going to process the M8 tracker for our audio. You could do this with the effects or the tracks that you have in your Octatrack. It requires a little bit more configuration to process actual tracks that you have in an Octatrack through machines and stuff like that. Requires you to use the Q output. I recommend you use studio mode, turn the Q all the way up, turn the track level all the way down, run the Q outputs back into the Octatrack, and then you can actually process the Octatrack's audio through your through machines and do these kind of effects on your existing tracks in the Octatrack. Not something you can do without doing that process, just not how the machine works. So keep that in mind. This is going to be best use case scenario with external gear. I'm going to make it so my microphone goes into my headphones real quick. There we go. Now I can hear my voice. Thank the Lord. Okay, cool. All right. Everything is sounding good. It's looking good. Looks like we have some people hanging out in the chat. Let me bring this over so I can actually see the chat too. And then we're just going to get started with this. You know, if you like this kind of content, you like doing this kind of thing, visiting the Patreon and supporting this channel is really great. It's really helpful for me, and it makes it so I can keep iterating on these concepts and coming up with these tutorials and hopefully articulating things in a way that makes it so you can understand it. Okay, so let's dive right into it. I'm gonna go to an empty bank. We'll use bank 16 pattern 1, and I'm gonna clear out these parts. So clear the part, clear the part, clear the whole thing out like it didn't exist. And then clear the whole pattern. And right now it like might look a little different to you because I have it in studio mode. That's why there's two different levels. We have the track level and then we have the cue level, and they're separate. This doesn't matter, okay? This doesn't matter for you. You can ignore that it might look different than what you're used to viewing on an Octatrack. Just ignore that because I just don't need to change cue mutes or the studio cue mode. Okay, here we go. So what we need to do is first we want to be able to bring our audio into our Octatrack. There's a couple different ways you can bring audio into the Octatrack. First, you can bring it in through your mix menu. You can just bring it in right through the direct. Like we're not able to hear the M8 tracker. You can see the Octatrack is definitely seeing audio input, but we're not able to hear it. If I bring the direct up to 127, it will bring us at unity gain because direct is a dry wet mix of incoming audio. The thing about this is that you can't really process this audio through effects because it's just going straight out the outputs, right? It's coming in and going through the outputs. The one thing you could do is throw a master track on your Octatrack, and then you could potentially affect a master monitor, if you will. You could affect the audio that you monitor through a master track, but that's the only way that you can actually process incoming audio without using a through machine. So M8 tracker, no M8 tracker. We don't want to use this route, but I did want to point it out because this is a tutorial stream. What we want to do is grab a through machine. We're going to put on track 1. I like to build out a deck. So my deck would be 4 tracks of effects. We'd go through, neighbor, neighbor, neighbor. And then we kind of treat it as a pedal board where we turn certain effects on at certain times using the scenes and the crossfader to engage those effects. And that's my workflow. This side is going to be your flex tracks. These are going to be resample tracks at different intervals, at different time stretch intervals. And this is going to create, well, I'll just have to show you because it gets kind of complex. So we have our through machine. Let's go ahead and bring it in on both inputs. We want to be able to process both A, B, C, and D through one through machine. That way we can just sum all the audio in. It comes in stereo. It sounds great. These effects sound good on a master level. If you wanted to, kind of like split this apart into a drum and a melody bus, you would do this same concept on both sides, but you'd have less beat repeat effects and less stacks of effects in a row in serial to work with. But it's a great idea and something I should explore myself. So we're going to turn this up. I'm going to bring the volume to plus 63 on both these incoming audio tracks. I'm going to bring my track level to 127 because this is all unity gain. Plus 63 tells the Octatrack to bring it back up to 12 dB. Just for a quick example, if we listen to this at plus 63 and I hit play on my M8 tracker, first I got to put a step down on this step sequencer so it tells it to play a step. Or it tells the through machine to function. Check it out. Listen to how loud that was. That is at plus 63 on our volume. Now, if I mute this track, go back to my mix menu and turn this up to 127, have a listen to that. It's the same volume. So plus 63 is the same volume as just the full dry wet mix. Good to know, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Think about that while you're working on the Octatrack. So we do want to have our track level at 127, otherwise we won't get that full perfect unity gain signal, which is really useful on the Octatrack. All right, here we go. So we have a through machine. This is going to bring our audio in. We want to put some neighbor tracks in. This is just so that we can have some more effects. We can keep doing that on all these tracks. Turn them all into neighbors. And then we can put different effects on these neighbor tracks. This part isn't as important. This is more obvious. It's not like glaringly obvious, but it's more obvious on how this functions on the Octatrack. If you're an Octatrack user, you'd be familiar with this concept. What you wouldn't be so familiar with is the resampling concept here. So let's go over to track 5. We already know we have audio in here coming into the Octatrack. Now we actually want to mess with this incoming audio. We want to be able to destroy this audio. So I'm going to turn this into a flex track. Like, we're going fast, but it's on YouTube, so you'll be able to rewind, slow it down if you need to. But I'm going to go quick because I want to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. Partly because I'm moving my studio, and today is going to be the last day in this studio, in this configuration, that this channel exists like this. We will be moving to a new spot next week, and it will be a different perspective. Same quality, hopefully, hopefully a higher quality, in fact. Grab a flex machine. What we want to do is assign the flex machine to a recording buffer. We want to assign it to recording buffer 5 because we're going to be recording into track 5. Recording buffers, they are static. They are affixed to their track. Flex tracks can listen to other recording buffers, but they cannot record into another recording buffer's buffer. We have to record into track 5's recording buffer if we want to use track 5's recording buffer. Well, best case scenario, select the recording buffer that you're recording into if it's the track that you're going to be using that recording on. Okay, so we will select track 5 because we're recording into track 5. We're good to go there. So now we're already halfway there. We also want to bring our track level up to 127 here because I also want this to be at unity. I want everything to be at the exact same volumes at all times. This is really important to me when I'm designing effects on anything, whether it's on Ableton or another device or on the Octatrack. This is important stuff, keeping things at unity. You'd also want to make sure that you are in per track scale mode and that you've scaled out your tracks in the ways that are useful for you. This is something that had already happened on the Octatrack for me because this is an existing project. Right now, we're just going to go through the technique of actually creating a glitch effect. Okay, so on this track, I want to record the incoming audio. So I want track 5 to actually record this audio that's coming in through track 1's through machine. So I'm going to go to my recorder, and I want to tell this recorder to listen to track 1's incoming audio. But because we have 4 sets of effects tracks, we have a through machine and 3 neighbors, we actually want to record the output of track 4. So our target for this recorder would be track 4. So I've set my source 3 to track 4, and we'll just turn off these other sources because we don't need them to be available. So something interesting to note, and this is something that will come up a little bit later in this tutorial, or it'll be more noticeable in this tutorial, is that our record length is actually going to have quite a bit of an effect on how glitchy the recorded audio sounds. So if the record length is set to max, it's going to have the longest stretch. Put it that way. If our record length is set to a smaller amount, we're going to start getting smaller and smaller rhythms. And if we have our record length set to an odd amount, we're going to get more odd, strange rhythms in our beat repeats when we finally get to that stage. I think it's good to just leave it as 64. It's been working for me just fine, and it gives me good fidelity, and it locks the recording buffer record length at 4 bars instead of this like variable length that would happen when it's set to max. So I'm going to set my record length to 4 bars, and right now, like just to test out, make sure our recording buffers are everything's functioning, let's just have the music play, and I'll hit Rec 1 and just let it see if it's recording any audio. Oh, sorry, not Rec 1. I want to hit Rec 3. Rec 1 is recording nothing because I set it to 0. There we go. Rec 3. There we go. And we can see that we did, in fact, record some audio on there, which is great. And that's exactly what we want. There it is. Unity. Cool. All right. So let's continue messing with this a bit. What we want to do is let's make sure everything is set right. Track length. Make sure everything here is set good. Just clear these pages so that they're perfect. See these LFOs as well. Okay. So we want to set up an automatic recorder. What I want to have happen is that when I'm on one scene, we'll do a stutter effect first. When I'm on one scene, I'm going to have it be the dry wet mix. So just no effect at all will be on side A. So that's why side A is muted. So it's not an effect at all. It's just dry signal. And on B, it'll be the signal being processed on here. Basically what's going to happen is we're going to go from listening to this side of the deck to listening to this side of the deck. And on this side, we're going to have this really short rhythm. So I'm going to change the track scaling to just like 4 steps. So it just repeats the same 4 steps over and over again. This is a big part of the workflow. We want to put down a trigger on step 1, but we actually want to microtime that trigger right past the beginning of the playhead, because we're going to use a record trigger on the same track that starts the recording but we want the playback to be almost exactly at the same time so that it plays back the recorded audio immediately. And this is the trick, right? This is the whole way you start building these effects. These different track lengths and these different tracks with different recorder settings, with different track length settings and different effects on them, all of that plays into this like glitchy beat repeat effects process. Okay, so let's set that up. We're gonna do the first scene here. I'm gonna actually bring my amp level and lock it in at 0 so that this is at 0, not a positive or negative amp level. We just wanna lock it in here. And then I'm just gonna turn the volume all the way down. I don't like to use the track level for this. It doesn't work as well. It's also something you can easily bump the volume is. We want the volume to be static and fixed, so we're gonna lock it in. All right, and so now the next thing we're gonna do is we can use the track level for the end of our audio chain. So we could just go like this and go X level minimum, and that's fine. And so now we should have a scene that does silence. It goes from playing live to silence. It's playing our beat repeat. This is our first recorded beat repeat. Not silence, I forgot I did actually put a trigger down. So we look at track 5, here's our trigger. Sounds pretty cool. Okay. Something we need to fix really quick. These track levels aren't all the way up, and that's why the volume over here is a little quieter. There we go. Now they're unity. There's always something, you know, it's the Octatrack. What are you gonna do? How cool is that? This is not the same as using a delay. If I go over here and we use the delay, we turn the delay tape off, ping pong on, sure, lock on, and then bring the delay send all the way up and the feedback all the way up, we can do stuff like this too. Right? It's similar, but it's repeating the same moment in time. Check this out. Not the same moment in time. If I change scenes on my tracker, oh, first we got to deal with our recorder. So let's go over here. If we look at our record setup, we put down a record trigger. This is what's going to give us the new moment in time every single time. Okay, you can't hear it, but it's actually playing a new recording every single time. But we can change how you hear it. And this is interesting because this is a setting in the Octatrack that nobody talks about or uses. And so if we go to our source, we change length to time. So instead of length being this useless value, because by default, length on the Octatrack, it doesn't do anything. But when you change length to time, it's a, how do I put this? Well, it will change the length of the sample playback based on the current length of that sample. So a relative adjustment, that's the word I was looking for, relative. So we get a relative adjustment. I want this sample to play for a really short amount. Here's our glitch. Three triplets. Pretty cool, right? We just built this from scratch. Though I went a little sideways. That's fine, because we're doing it live. If this was a recorded YouTube video, it would be perfectly succinct, but alas, we're here. So if you followed along, we set up a flex track, we assigned it to the recording buffer, we have put a recorder trig down on track 5, and it's playing. The track length is only 4 steps long, so that means this recorder trig is repeating every 4 steps. On the track that is not a recorder trig, we have another playback trig, but it has been microtimed 1 microtime amount, or 1/128th or whatever it is, or 1/384th of a step past the recorder trigger. So the recorder trigger is recording audio, the playback trigger is playing directly after the recorder. So they're not at the exact same time, imperceptibly playing at different times. Sounds like they're at the exact same time, especially since it's this glitchy beat repeat experience, right? So once you have your first effect, this is a really basic one. All this does is keep creating a stuttered repeat effect on quarter notes. Dun, 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 dun. You know, it's just doing that over and over again, or every 4 steps. It's not on quarter notes. You can hear that it's not doing that because of the length of the time. If it was on quarter notes, we wouldn't even be able to hear it at all. If we bring this up too high, now it's on quarter notes, and we can't actually tell the difference. So we have to go less than a quarter, because that's the length here. Pretty cool, right? So now what we want to do is like add an effect to that. So I like to use like a lo-fi at the very beginning, and then maybe like a DJ filter at the very end. And we can get like a nice crunchy sound right here. So let's make a new scene. We can keep this scene the way it is. We'll copy it, paste it here, and let's do it again. Let's make a new effect. Maybe we could go to this DJ filter. Super cool, right? And this is just the beat repeat stuff, so we could have these be different times. We'll get into stretch effects here shortly. Let's maybe have this played at different times. So what's really fun is using this as a punch-in effects processor. So we want to be able to just like go hard, wet, go hard on the paint, go hard, wet with our signal, and then jump through different effects. And they'll be synced in time. They'll just instantly switch and change the rhythm and just kind of juggling, as someone said, it's like a juggle feel, and it is. It juggles your incoming audio in real time on an Octatrack. It's sick. And as I said before, I have 64 of these effects already made, with LFOs and all sorts of modulation, and this whole scene already mapped out. And if you want to check that out, again, patreon.com. But let's keep going. You don't need to sign up to the Patreon because I'm teaching you how to do it yourself right now. Let's change the time. So fun, dude. I mean, I absolutely love these effects. They're too cool. All right, so let's take this one again, copy it, just kind of keep using it because it's the driest version of the effect right now. Paste that scene over, and let's get a new time. Maybe we'll do the triplet on this one, and we could try using the bitrate reduction. Adds a lot of volume, you know? Still pretty cool, though. We could also try adding another effect. The order that I like to do the effects is that I like to go a delay, and then I like to put a reverb in, and then like a phaser or flanger or something at the very end. And I'll put a classic DJ filter I'll leave on 2. Here we'll put in a delay, which is already there. We'll leave it on the tape delay. Ping pong. Bring the feedback up. And dial in the bass because it gets a little too bassy. Soften that delay. And let's go over here and add the reverb. Dark reverb, send it to... We want to use the send version and not the mix version. Although the mix version works really well for beat repeat type effects because it cuts off when the fader cuts off. So this is actually a good environment to play with mix instead of send. But yeah, we'll play with send for now because it's more typical. And bring that time way up. Bring it like to 100. Shelve that off. High pass that a bit. Cool. Now we have some pretty decent general settings for a reverb and a delay to add to these effects. So for instance, if we wanted to, we could, copy this effect. Let's just put it over here on 1. We'll just kind of make these again as a demonstration. can get some really weird stuff. Something you want to keep in mind when you're doing what I just did is that those effects are being resampled. The delay is going to get resampled and moved around. So if you find a weird timing with the delay, you can get some really interesting stuff done. All right, let's get back over to these effects. I want to complete this little row before we go into time stretch. We'll paste that, and we'll change the time again. Or better yet, let's change the time of the actual track itself so we can get a whole nother resolution of glitch effects. We're going to do the same thing that we did with 5, but we're going to do it on track 6. Track level 127. Turn it into a flex track. Assign the recording buffer to recording buffer 6, because that's the track we're recording into. And now we're going to change the track length to something different. Maybe we'll use a track length of 6. We can just test it out and see what happens. Or a track length of 2 will give us some really, really fast repeats. You can try that out too. Put playback trigger, microtime that playback trigger 1 step off of the very beginning or run it off of center, and then put a recorder trigger down. This is the shortcut to going into where the recorder editor is. Place a record trig down. We want it to record constantly. Make a new scene. This scene will delete what we had there. We will assign the track volume to 0, and then we'll go to 4 and X level minimum so that we can't hear the incoming audio. We just hear the beat repeat version, and now we should have... Oh, whoa. I might be moving too fast. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's because the track length is set too low. Oh, we got a couple things playing at the same time. Hang on. Hang on here. Forgot that I gotta bring that down. Set up. Hold on here. Oh, we haven't finished setting up the recorder for this one. I kind of just jumped right over to it. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure that we've got this set up. Let's get rid of this. Record length 64. We want to record out of track 4 onto that track. Crazy dog. Oh, we gotta set this to a relative amount. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind when you're doing this. There's so many little settings you have to set up every single time. And yeah, you can't forget any of them or they don't function. So what I had to do is I had to make sure I was recording the output of my audio, my incoming audio train, essentially, this whole serial effects row, and make sure that this was set to time length. If you don't have length to time set up, it's not going to function correctly. And we also want to have a set length for our recorder, and of course, make sure we're targeting the right spot. So now we have a new glitch effect at a different rate. Use a delay here. So we're getting to some cool territory so far. Let's do it again. Let's do this process again on another track, but let's focus on some time stretch effects this time. Let me see if I can nail it without being like, oh, whoops, I forgot to do these settings. Because there's so many of these, oh, whoops, I forgot to do these settings scenarios. In this particular setup, it is definitely the most brain-intensive effects processing for not just for me, but for the Octatrack, and how many settings have to be set up correctly for this to work. So let's do it right the first time. So we're gonna change our track length. We'll do 4 again for this one. Change the length to time for our sample playback so that we can do an offset with the length. Let's start with 4. Track level 127. Let's turn this into a flex track. Let's make sure length to time is turned on still. There we go. And now we want to target track 4 for our recorder. So source 3. Turn these off. When we're in this menu, put down a playback trigger. And now we want to put down a playback trigger for the actual sample in our regular sequencer, our step editor. Microtime it 1 hair past the recording trigger. And we want to save this as a scene. So we'll go to amp, lock in volume at 0. And track 4, X level minimum. And now we're going to play with time stretch. So here we're going to make sure that time stretch is set to, rate is set to time stretch because we want to get that granular grit. And let's check it out. We got to make sure we get a recorder going on there first. Yep, we got to set our recording up. There's always one step. Okay. Here we go. Live time stretch effects. Okay. Hang on a second. Because I am suddenly getting an oh, bring the volume all the way down. Damn it, 2 steps we missed to have it be perfect. Tracks, make sure that these tracks, when you start this process off, just go over to your amp menu, just turn everybody's volumes down to -64. This will save you so much headache. Now these effects are my favorite. These are really cool. We can get some cool rhythms here, crunch them up with the sample rate reduction. Let's change songs really quick so we don't get sick of this one. Let's find some drum and bass. Okay, make sure it's setting MIDI out. Cool. We made all these effects from scratch right here live on this stream, even with a couple of snafus of things I was forgetting here and there. Maybe we'll even do one more track and see if I don't forget anything in the process, and hopefully that will be the ultimate part of the tutorial where you're like, oh, he didn't forget a single parameter and didn't have to go back and fix something. Maybe not, though. We'll see. Let's copy this scene and make another version of it. Let's go here, paste it. Let's change the time to a different rate. Maybe we'll go up to 48. This actually adds a triplet feel to it. Using time stretch to create a triplet. You can even repitch this down. You can't repitch the other effects. This sounds really cool if you just leave it at a half speed. What is this? Whoa! What was that? It's not a part of the song. Alright, let's grab another track. Here's a good one. In the meantime, you can also build like classic, typical effects. Like if I went over to the filter section, we could just use a filter. So get lost for a moment doing that. But yeah, it's starting to get good, right? The effects are starting to shine. Things are starting to come out of here, and it's definitely it has a sound, it has a timbre. Like you have to like this kind of like glitchy beat repeat type effect, which I very much do. I think it's incredibly fun, and my favorite part about these type of beat repeat and glitch effects is the fact that you can play them like kind of like a drum kit. You know, like you have these assortment of times that you'll generate or that you'll make, and you can just jump through them and have it be, you know, like a remix of your incoming audio. So we can keep going with this and take it to, you know, further depths. Let's copy the scene, go here, and we can even take the time stretch down another level. Like we can go down to 16 for the rate, and it's really, really gonna crunch it up. Let's get this pitch at its original rate. Okay. So that's like about as low as, like, you can take the time stretch, I think, a little bit lower. Let's see. Can't really tell the difference anymore. It's just so slow that it's like... If we change the length of this track, we'll get different rhythms too. What? 6 is good. Whack. So one thing I recommend that you do is that if you're gonna do these like odd time track lengths, you want to have like a whole set of effects dedicated to that track time, because this 6 isn't gonna like go well into these 4s. It just, like, it will if you time it just right and you land it in the right spot, but you got to be like really attentive to that. Your best bet is to just make a group of effects that are gonna be with the 6. So like, let's bring it back to the where it was before. Or actually, let's wait one more second. Let's try to bring it up to 8 really quick. Nice. Okay, so we want to like separate this out. Let's take this one, let's replace it with that one. And then we'll go down here and do another stretch effect. What was this one? Okay, let's use this track. This is gonna be the last time I do this, the time stretch beat repeat effects tutorial on these. I did it 4 times now. See if I can do it right. Okay, follow along closely. Here's how we do it perfectly. First thing we want to make sure, amp level is set to -64. Set it to a flex machine. Turn length to time on. Change the track length to a very low length. In this particular version, we're going to do it on 8 steps. Bring your track level to 127. Create a new scene. Like, let's go to 15. We're going to lock the amp at 0 for scene 15. We are going to target recording buffer 8 because that is where we're recording into. We're going to set the recorder to target track 4 because that is the end of the row of the audio chain here. And then we're going to turn off A, B, and C, and D as far as their input goes and make sure our track level is at 127. We're going to put down a playback trigger on our step editor. We're going to micro time that playback trigger 1 hair forward. Function, rack 1, we're looking at our record setup, put down a recorder trig, and did I do it? Let's hit play and find out. No, I did not do it. Did I? Oh. And you have to lock in that this goes to X level minimum. There we go. Live pitch stretch effects. Then you can add effects here. Like, let's try putting like a, you can do a comb filter or like a spatializer. This sounds nut. Mid-side split. What? Let's take the build up. Filter effect. Give me a filter. Reverb instead. Mix. That's an interesting one. This is when we have the rate set to pitch. Here's just time stretch, so we actually get the, you know, it doesn't sound as lo-fi, it just sounds destroyed. Oh, that's like a compress it. Been a while since I did a tutorial stream on the Octatrack. Feels good. Feels good. Back to my roots. It's good to be back at the roots. Sponsor me, Polar. Roy, you failed me again. Sponsor me, Espresso. Could you imagine just getting a sponsorship from Espresso? The concept, the idea sponsors me. The ether sponsors me, essentially. Do you all remember when just driving down the freeway, you would look up and see the big roadside advertisements and it would just say got milk? But it wouldn't say like from a dairy producer of any sort. It was just like an advertisement from milk. You're just like, oh, milk wants me to drink it. Doesn't care who I drink it from. Just wants me to drink it. Okay. Thanks, milk. What kind of propaganda shit is that? I mean, for real. You remember that. That is some government propaganda right there. Drink milk. Okay, if anybody has some like questions or anything like that, this is a great time to hit me with them. I'm gonna drink both this Polar. I was gonna call it a Polar LaCroix. Might as well. LaCroix to me just means static water. TV static. Avatar of lactose wills it. The avatar of lactose. Well played. Okay, at EZBOT, I use a modular synth and a Digitact for playing music. I'm wondering if I should get a Digatone too to join the mix. Or would it be better to grab an Octatrack to have these amazing effects you make? What's your thought? What you think? Well, Jazz. You know what I really like about the Octatrack? Is that even if you didn't like the effects that you made on it, or even if you didn't like the effects, the Octatrack is a utilitarian tool. I often compare it to like a VCA in a Eurorack system. Like a VCA can do so many things for you, right? VCA can just attenuate your signal. It can boost your signal. VCA can act as a transgate for you. It can act as a volume receive modulation from an envelope generator and control the volume over time to make a nice synth voice or a swell, right? Just has all these tons of functionality. An Octatrack is your VCA in your system. So what's great is got two audio inputs, two stereo pair outputs that you can do different kinds of routing. You can use the Q bus as an actual bus and bus down stems like basically instantaneously. There's a lot you can do with it. The effects are gonna be this like glitchy you know, not always glitchy. If you're doing these effects, they're going to be glitchy, but the effects are going to be, you know, there's newer boxes out there that have better sounding effects. I mean, push 3 is going to kind of dominate it when it comes to like, how's the reverb sound? You know, the reverb sounds bad. It sounds old, but it works. And in a techno setting, if that's kind of the thing you're doing, techno or drum and bass, and you don't mind having a garage vibe, I personally don't. I really like that sound. I love the sound of a garagey, a little less polish than what you would see from a $1 million studio working on something where you're like, it sounds almost unreal. Something where it sounds real. The Octatrack provides that kind of timbre for you. So I think it's really fun to pair with a modular synth. I think it works really well with a modular synth. I have 2 of them. I wouldn't be opposed to having a third one, to be honest. Just to have connected to another set of instruments so that I don't have to take one away from my other pair of instruments, you know, because I kind of work in these little pods, so to speak, kind of like people do with the modular system. They build out their system and they build this little pod, the ecosystem they work in. I do that with Octatracks, with different groove boxes, usually, and with modular now and then. So the answer I would say is yes. Is it necessary? Is there other alternatives? Yeah, there is. Are you gonna be able to build your own effects in those alternatives? Unlikely. Unlikely that it's going to have a crossfader and macro effects and incoming audio and the ability to record and play back recordings and build resample style of effects. That's a little unlikely unless it's a push 3 and you're willing to deal with that interface and the workflow of the push 3, which kind of sucks, even though it sounds great. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Answer is yes and no. Cool stuff. Followed up with a belch. Thanks for subscribing, Chris De La Cruz. What's your espresso setup? These are the real questions. A DeLonghi? I'm not sure. It's an Italian espresso machine. And some Italian espresso. I drink a lot of espresso. Maximum of 2 doubles a day. That's where I cap out. Do you think an Octatrack could do the only standalone production item groove box in a setup or only pairs with other devices? Well, I mean, the answer to that is yes, it can absolutely do that. And it was the mainstay groove box for probably a majority of like techno and drum and bass producers. In terms of a groove box goes for a very long time until, you know, Dig Attack and Dig Attack 2 came out and kind of like, you know, and there's room for an M8 tracker and MPCs and all that. So, I mean, I would say yes. Yeah, absolutely, it can do that. There's alternative boxes out there that you might find more appropriate in 2025 for the sound quality that maybe you're after or some of the quality of life features that you're after. The Octatrack may not have, but if you got a used Octatrack, you can do so much with it. Like I said, it's a utilitarian device. Can it be a groove box? 100%. Is there better groove boxes out there for laying down patterns and stuff? There is. Is there a better box out there for chopping samples? Maybe not. Maybe an MPC. Maybe. It's not my thing, so to speak, but the chopping on it's really good. The Octatrack is one of the best at chopping samples, I would say. Let me jump back over to, well, I'll see if there's any more questions, actually. Hang on. Why not? Why not check more questions? I do love answering questions. Do you ever have issues here with the OT being the master clock? Now, in this situation, the OT is not the master clock. And typically, you would find, you'll never out effects. Typically, you will find more difficulty in the Octatrack receiving clock if you're doing effects processing on the Octatrack than if you have the Octatrack sending clock. So the answer to that is no. The Octatrack as the clock master is ideal. That's absolutely the most ideal situation for being an effects processor. However, I'm not using it that way. I am sending clock over to it. It's quite reliable. We're listening to these effects. They sound great. They work. Mind you, that's coming from an M8 Tracker's clock. Like, we're talking this little Game Boy box deal, you know? It's all MIDI, so it's all the same thing. But my point is that it does a great job of receiving clock. It's working just fine. We can take a look at the jitter right here. We're jittering between there's 0.4 decimal points of jitter. It's actually better jitter from this M8 tracker than it is from their own ecosystem into the Octatrack, which you can get all the way up to a full BPM of jitter. So it's working great. It's working great. This is optimal, I would say. That little of MIDI jitter is wonderful. It's perfect. So it's a great effects process. Doing these like beat repeat glitch effects paired with something like the M8 tracker is a really fun process. Let's jump back over here. I'm happy to answer more questions as they pop up, but I think I just grinded through most of them. Akai dropped a Force update. Is the Pendep? Yeah, I spoke with Akai. Yeah, they got some cool stuff coming. They're working on cool stuff. Okay, let's check it out. Let's switch tracks. We've heard enough of this track. We got. This one I like. So here's a different style of music, more of a dubby, emo vibe. Let me make it 7 o'clock real quick. Really quiet because the music is really soft in general. Let's get to a louder stage. I love this kind of stuff. Like this. What I really like about doing these kind of like beat repeat glitchy effects, let me get another one that's got a little more stronger timbre to it, is resampling them on back into your sampler, which you can do using the Q out. Okay, so imagine you have this. Then we're gonna take this and turn it into this. It's rhythmic. Also, you can hit stop and just start right in these effects. We don't have to crossfade over to this. We can just go right into it. This could be how you introduce a song. So this texture, we don't have to use it as a live effect. We can use this as an effects processor. We could add an LFO to this. We have a filter. Let's use our filter and we'll target the filter. Or, even better yet, we could use an LFO to target the actual rate and have it glitch on an LFO. So let's switch this over to that. Let's clear this really quick. We want a source rate.
now we're gonna get like some really weird stuff. This even sounds even more obvious when we have it do time stretch to pitch. Like, this is a live effect, but we could resample this stuff. Try just like a square wave. Might be too much. Like, whoa. Change the time. Make this play for a shorter time. No matter what I send into this, we're just gonna get live nonsense. Pretty cool. Pretty freaking cool stuff. So it's just it's pretty amazing what you can do with this device and how weird you can get with it. Once you're done and you've created these effects and you like them, you're gonna go function part and you're gonna hit save. You're gonna save your part, and now it's a part of your workflow. You want to have your track level all the way. I had that down. Don't have it down. If you want to build like classic beat repeats, so these actually repeat the incoming signal and juggle the incoming signal, but you could have it do just like classic echo freezes and stuff like that. That's a really easy solution. Go to your delay, set it to 0. We had already set it up as a freeze delay, which is turn tape off. You can turn ping pong on or off. I think off is actually a better idea. You turn lock on and make sure your effects send is turned up above 0, and then you can just lock it at 0, whatever timing you want it to be. So if we had like an echo freeze, 32, 16, those are good numbers for that. As a get this out of here. Right, it'll be repeat, but if we throw a filter on it, or if we use the delays filter, it'll echo freeze out into the ether. Alright, let's try a different song. Let's just use this one. That works. Another good one is like you use that, you pair it with the DJ EQ. Really bring out. It sounds way better once you like find some sweet spots to emphasize. This is using 2 filters. Yeah, 2 filters. The delays filter, and then you're also using the DJ. Then on top of that, you could add like another delay. Sounds pretty cool. Or we could not use the delay here, because I usually wouldn't have the delay at the very end of the chain like that. We could use this reverb. Now we get a really nice echo freeze. Yeah. Super cool stuff. A lot of fun. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. This is something I've been promising the folks on my Patreon, how to actually build these effects. And I may make a very streamlined YouTube video in the coming weeks that just kind of goes through the very quick process of how to do stutter and then stutter stretch. Yeah, that'll be on YouTube. But otherwise, this long version that is, how long now? What are we at? 1 hour. This 1 hour version will be on YouTube, and you're welcome to watch it over and over again and learn how to do glitch and beat repeat effects. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I make performance templates for the Elektron Octatrack. I teach the MA Tracker, Elektron workflow. I'm a Bitwig certified trainer, and I do private lessons. You can visit ezbot.live if you want to sign up for private lessons. Alternatively, you can visit patreon.com and sign up for private lessons. I'll teach you how to do all this stuff one-on-one and answer all of your questions. And if you're a beginner, you're brand new to hardware electronic music, I take people from zero to hero, so to speak, learning the ins and outs of devices, audio interfaces, connecting with your DAW, recording, all the way up to mastering if we need to get that far, or if we can get that far. You can do that all lessons with me. It's fun. It's a great time. It looks exactly like it does right here on YouTube. However, this channel will be changing a little bit, just the perspective, because I'll be in a new studio as of next week as I break this whole thing down directly after the stream, which is what I'm about to do right now. So visit modbang.com if you want to pick up the magnetic overlays for the templates. If you're interested in stuff like that, you can see this little cute little advertisement. Modbang.com. I do live hardware electronic music events. We have them in 4 different states now. Look out for that. Visit modbang.com/events if you want to see live hardware electronic music events in the contact me form. You can also sign up to play these shows and have a great time. Join the community. The hardware electronic music community is a super cool, inclusive, fun community, and everybody's becomes friends very quickly there. It's a very fast friend scenario. It's like sitting on an airplane with somebody for 6 hours, except for you only have to go to a show and become buddies really quick. So I highly recommend you do that. You can also you can join the EZBOT Discord. There'll be a link in the comment section of this channel and on every single comment section on every video that I've made. The Discord is completely free, and I invite you to come and hang out and share your music, share your tutorials or your favorite things. Let's just talk about music in general, media, and all sorts of fun topics. All except for politics. We keep politics out of the Discord server because I'll lose my mind. But besides that, it's really nice having everybody here. I hope that this tutorial on how to make live resample glitch effects on the Elektron Octatrack was illuminating and encouraged you to explore your Octatrack a little bit further if you hadn't done so already. And if you're interested in getting an Octatrack, you should. And you can also use the affiliate links in the YouTube description to buy yourself an Octatrack, and it will give me a couple of extra bucks for you doing that, which is really nice. And it's at no extra cost to you, even though everything is way more expensive now because of tariffs. Super cool stuff. But everybody, have a great time. I look forward to seeing you at the Modbang events. We have a couple of them coming up. Please visit modbang.com/events if you want to see the Modbang event calendar. It is updated and ready to go. So everybody have a great time. I'll see you next week. We'll do this again for even longer because streams are usually 2 hours. We're cutting it short because I got to pack this place up. You all the best, and see you soon.